Welcome to your exercise flow for your first trimester. As with any exercise during pregnancy, please be sure to check in with your midwife, obstetrician, or health practitioner if you have any concerns with exercising. You should be well hydrated, wear non-restrictive and cool clothing, and none of the exercises should cause any discomfort, so please listen to your body as we go. For this flow, you will be best off barefoot and have a half dome or rolled towel handy, plus a folded blanket or a bolster that you can sit or lie down on. Also try to find a location that is close to a sturdy door handle that you can use to hold off, and we'll be using that for some of our squats. Now, see if you can continually check in with your good alignment so that you've got the best alignment for all of your muscles throughout these exercises, including straight feet, hips over heels, and ribs down. This movement flow would be great to do daily or on any days that you aren't doing other forms of exercise. And this one is specifically designed for your first trimester or pre-pregnancy and right up to 12 to 14 weeks of pregnancy. If you do enjoy this flow and feel comfortable in the poses, you can continue to do this series for as long as you like, perhaps substituting some of the movements where your belly gets in the way, or if you feel uncomfortable lying on your back. All right, we're starting off with a calf stretch. So heel on the ground, ball the foot on top, walk that other foot as close as you need to feel that gentle stretch down the back of the leg. And after about 15 seconds, we're going to swap to the other side and do the same again to find the best level of stretch for your body at the moment. And you can still check in with all of these alignment points as well. Now, for the top of the foot stretch, we're going to tuck the toes under of one leg so that you feel a stretch at the front of the ankle. And you can check in again to make sure that your weight is in your heels. Ribs are relaxed down. And then same on the other side. Toes tuck under, weights in your heel, standing nice and strong. And we're coming into a hamstring stretch. So before we've done the hamstring stretch while leaning on something, you can do it just by taking your bum out behind you and just hang out here, but only if you feel comfortable and it's not too much strain on your lower back. I'll often have my hands resting behind my back here. Then we come on back up and we're coming down into a kneeling lunge. So grab whatever bolster or towel that you're using that can go on the floor. We're coming to put one knee down onto the bolster, finding a little hip stretch initially. So you'll feel it on the knee that's down on the bolster. Same things apply, hips square, pelvis tucks a little bit. Then you can back the stretch off. And then think about pushing down through the heel of the front leg, the ball of the foot at the back, and you're going to push down into the floor to bring yourself up. So a really nice way to strengthen some of these lower leg muscles. And same on the other side. So come to set yourself up into a good stretch here. I do like to have the toes tucked under at the back. Hips are square, tailbone tucks under, so you're getting a gentle stretch at the front of the hip on this side. We can untuck, push through the feet again to really feel those lower body muscles work as you bring yourself up. Now this is where your door handle comes in handy, or I usually have one hand on either side, but for the video here, I'm just holding onto one side. Feet are a little bit wider than your hips, coming back and down into your door handle squat. Thinking about pushing through your heels to bring yourself up. We're going to do 3 of these. And the slower that you can do these movements while keeping it nice and smooth and controlled, the more benefit that you will get from them as you load the glutes in particular, but your pelvic floor is also working here as well. There we go. And then back. to your calf stretch. Foot on top, stepping in until you feel that gentle stretch in the back of the leg. And then same on the other side. And then coming into that top of the foot stretch again. So the bolster goes out to the side, and then tuck the toes under, check in with your pelvis and with your rib cage. And for this stretch, you want to make sure that your ankle, if you swap to the other side, isn't falling out to the side. So we don't want to stretch the outer border of the ankle, but rather that your foot is still straight on. Now we're coming back to our kneeling lunge push-up. So we've got our half dome, landing on that with one knee gently. And instead of doing our stretch, we're going to come straight up from that position and then lower yourself straight back down. If you feel at all unsteady with this one, then you can do it next to a wall so that you can hold on for a bit of balance. Pushing through the heel and the ball of the foot. And then we swap to the other side. Pushing through the feet. And again, slow and smooth is the key. We're going to finish this one on the ground, and then we come down onto hands and knees. So we've got your toes tucked under at the back, hands beneath your shoulders, relaxing your spine, and then sitting back just a touch to come down into your hands and knees squat prep. We're taking a moment here just to breathe. Feel your rib cage expand. You might feel some gentle movement in your pelvic floor as well. But the pelvic floor you are trying to keep as relaxed as possible for this stretch. And we come on back up onto hands and knees and shoulder blade push up. So check in with your elbows, make sure that they're not hyperextending, but there's a soft bend in them if you need to. And then the movement here is to lower your chest down to the floor and then push your hands into the floor to widen the shoulder blades at the back. So it's a push up, but just with the shoulder blades moving around rather than bending your elbows at all. Really great for working on the stabilizing muscles around the shoulder girdle. And then taking the elbows instead now to go bend backwards toward your thighs. So this one's going to work the triceps as you come into a little dip, up, and trying not to let your hips move. So we're not really looking for the pelvis to move backward at all, but just bending the elbows while pivoting the torso around the hip joint. All right, and then if you feel comfortable, come to sit back onto your heels, and we're going to stretch out the triceps. So one hand goes up, and then the other hand grabs the elbow and gives it a little bit of a pull till you feel that stretch down the back of the upper arm. Now, what will often happen here is the rib cage will thrust and elevate. See if you can keep your ribs down so that it's still stacked on the pelvis. And then we'll do the other side. Other arm up, feeling that stretch down the back of the upper arm. Check in with the ribs if you need to. But don't forget to breathe either. And then we'll come on back to hands and knees, finding this rhomboid push-up again. So just letting the shoulder blades slide around, or that they rather widen at the top of that push-up, and then they come closer together as you lower yourself back down. Now, if you find that this bothers your wrists at all, I would recommend rolling up your mat a little bit or getting a towel to put under the heel of your hand. So for the next one, I'm going to have my towel rolled so I can rest the heel of my hand onto it. Then we'll try that tricep dip again. So elbows bend back toward your thighs, pivoting around the hip. Feeling the muscles at the back of the upper arm work again. Then we'll let the towel get out of the way and coming down into child's pose. So you are going to sit your hips back toward your heels. At this point, your belly shouldn't be in the way too much. And then reaching the arms out in front to get a nice long stretch all the way down the side of your torso. Now, provided this doesn't bother your shoulders or your hips, we're going to walk the hands over to one side. So I'm going to start by walking over towards my right so that you lengthen even more down the opposite side. This is really nice to do if you're feeling a bit tight in your lower back especially. Making sure you're still breathing throughout these stretches, and then back towards the other side. All right, now we get to come to the more relaxing bit where we get to lie down. And we'll use the bolster in a moment, but first we're going to go just on the floor. And make sure that as you come down onto the floor, you're not going straight back in a kind of reverse sit-up type movement. You do want to come down on your side first, use your arms to let yourself come back down, and then turn over onto your back. So the first exercise here is a bridge. See if you can make sure that your shins are vertical so that they're not too far away, but straight up and down. And then the movement here is to push your heels into the ground to lift the pelvis up and then lower back down. So we do want to make sure that we are pushing through the heels to drive the movement so that it's coming from your glutes and your hammies rather than just the quad muscles. Now, if that's pretty easy, you can also just check to make sure that the pelvis isn't rolling up. I know some yoga moves and Pilates will often teach going segmentally, but we actually want to go just to one piece. So no rolling, but straight up and down, using your heels and then lowering back down. Now, if this is getting a bit too easy, you can also do it with working up to taking one foot away. So we've got that push to come up, starting to think about taking one foot away, and see if you can keep yourself there without the hips kind of tilting or dropping down on one side before lowering that foot back down and then lowering the hips. So if that's a bit challenging, you can just start with bridging up, and then shifting your weight over and in preparation for lifting the foot, but not actually lifting it just yet. Bring yourself back to the middle and then lower down. And as that gets easier, you can work up to actually lifting the whole foot up. And then down and lower the pelvis. So it's a very small lift of the pelvis, but always trying to keep that smooth, controlled movement and the level pelvis, so not tilting one side or the other. All right, now we're going to bring the bolsters in. And so to get yourself set up, again, pushing it up from your side, getting your supports in place. And so we are bolstering up into a position where we can make sure that the ribs aren't flaring up when we're lying in our back, rather that we can keep them nice and relaxed down, smooth with your tummy. So make sure that you aim well to get your head on the extra little towel or half dome or whatever you're using, and then the back of your shoulders on top of the half dome. And so from here, back of the shoulders on the bolster. From here, we're going to go legs all the way out. We get to relax the ribs down, and we're doing some chest opening and shoulder mobility. So arms start, we'll do one arm at a time, but one arm starts going straight up to the ceiling. You can try protract that shoulder, which is kind of reaching up even more, and use the other hand to hold onto your pec muscle, which is at the front of your chest here, and feel that muscle become quite firm and taut as you lower your arm out to the side. So we'll just only come down to about 45 degrees, and then on that angle, you are making angel wings on the floor. Again, making sure that ribs are down, your body's nice and steady, arms go slowly up, and then slowly back down. You can check in with your ribs too to make sure that they're not arching up as you go overhead. They should stay in line with the rest of your tummy. And then we'll try the other side. So arm goes up first, lowers down to the side, feel your pec muscle switch on, and then that snow angel movement as the arms go overhead and then come back. So this one's called the snow angel. Or if you're from a more tropical climate, it might be a sand angel. I don't know how comfortable that might be. All right. And then the next one is a pullover. So arms go both up overhead, making sure that the ribs stay down. And we're working more on that shoulder mobility overhead here. So arms go up and then just back up to the middle. And you're only going overhead as far as you can comfortably before the ribs start to lift up. So make sure that you're not bypassing your own shoulder's range of motion, only working into the range that you have. And so this is a really nice exercise to progress some core strength if you do hold a small weight in your hands. So start with 1 or 2 kilos. I usually start with a textbook and then you can take that overhead, you'll notice that your abdominal muscles have to work just that little bit more in order to keep your ribs down and to stabilize as you go through that movement. All right, next we're coming into a figure 4 stretch. So the knees can bend up, one ankle crosses over the other knee, and then you can bring your knee up, but use your hands to bring that knee up till you feel the stretch in the hip and the glute here. So this is quite similar to the sitting version of the piriformis or the figure 4 stretch that we've done before. And then we'll do the other side. Replacing that leg back down, swapping over, bring the thigh up by using your hands. Feel that stretch in the hip and the glute on that side. You can also check in and make sure that you're not collapsing through your spine, so we shouldn't totally be flattening out our back, but rather maintaining that neutral shape of the spine and pelvis. And then letting that leg go down, and then the other side can come back down as well. See how you feel. If you're comfortable doing this one, we're going to let the feet come together and then both knees lower down to either side until you feel a gentle stretch in the inner thighs. And if you do find this is a bit uncomfortable, you can use a bolster. So again, folded towel, half dome, blankets to support underneath your thighs so that you're not just hanging there. But that might allow you to relax into the stretch just a little bit more. Check in with the breath, check in with your ribs. And then we come out of that stretch. So the knees come back up and the legs to straighten out. And we're starting with our snow angels. If you like, you can do both arms at the same time. But remember that we are starting going up first. So we're reaching our hands up to the ceiling, letting them lower down to about that 45-degree angle. And then going through our snow angel wing movement. Keeping the ribs down, nice smooth movement of the arms. And then back to our pullover. So if you have a weight, pretend this is a textbook or a small hand weight. I'm going to take this one now overhead, making sure that I'm not going past the point where my ribs want to lift. So I'm keeping my ribs down and then bringing them back. Nice smooth movement. Especially if you're holding a weight, you can think about exhaling as you bring your arms back up to the starting position. And exhaling. All right. We can lower that back down. And we're going to come into a spinal twist. So knees come to bend up. We're going to shift the hips over to one side just a little bit, and then let the knees come down until you feel a gentle stretch in your tummy. Remember, keeping these muscles nice and supple are really important as baby grows. Use a bolster here again under your hips so that you can relax into the stretch rather than hovering and feeling like you have to hold yourself up, because we don't want to go past the point where your ribs then start to come and lift off the floor as well. So we've got our bolster if you need it, making sure that ribs stay down and enjoying that gentle lengthening through your tummy. Do check in with your breath here. See if you can take a nice deep breath. Feel all the muscles around your ribcage just gently expand and then relax as you exhale. And then same on the other side. So bring the knees back up, which will use some of these abdominal muscles. Then we're going to push our feet into the floor to shift the hips over towards the other side. Move your bolster back toward the side that you're turning to, and then lowering the knees down until you're resting on the bolster. And know that the closer that the towel or bolster is to your hip, the higher up it will support you, and the further away that your bolster is, the lower down it'll let your knees go. So make sure that you have it in a spot that's comfortable for you, and know that you can change it if you find that you do get more flexible in this particular stretch. Again, a few deep breaths. And then to finish off, we're coming to bring yourself back into that midline. Shift your hips back to the middle. Ribs are down, legs can go out straight. And spend a few minutes here in the psoas release, just breathing. Letting all of the tension relax out from your face, your neck and shoulders. Your ribs are sinking down into the floor. Tummy's relaxed, and your pelvic floor is relaxed here as well. And you can spend 1 minute here, or you can stay here for another 4 or 5 minutes, as long as you feel you need, and as long as you are comfortable. I hope you enjoyed that movement flow. Please feel free to progress this program as needed by adding some light hand weights, a full water bottle, but know that as your belly grows, that load or that weight is gradually increasing anyway. Be smart and safe when you exercise, and always listen to your body. If anything doesn't feel right, be sure to check in with your healthcare provider.